Hi, and welcome to another episode of Legacy Talks. And today we're going to be talking about family. Not the perfect version that you see on TV or in Disney or all that. We're going to talk about the real thing that you see in real life.
Every family has something, don't they?
They do. Every family has something. It's either healthy or unhealthy, but either way, it shapes everyone in your life.
Yeah, family shapes us more than we realize. Even in counseling, we hear a lot of discussion about the family of origin, uh, from how you cook your Thanksgiving turkey to how you might decorate for Christmas. Family shapes us. And, it's easy to say that a family is healthy or unhealthy, but I'd like to think that most families are probably a mix of both because there is no perfect family. And so uh, I think some families might be a little heavy on the unhealthy side and a little light on the healthy side. But I'd like to think that most families have healthy and unhealthy in it. And so if there's no perfect family, and if every family has a little bit of healthy and a little bit of unhealthy blended into it, our goal, you and I talking in this podcast, my goal as a pastor, the goal as the church, is to try to inject as much healthy into family as we can. And that only happens when we get real about the family. And so family matters because family is the first place that most of us learn about love. Most of us learn what trust is and what safety is.
Yeah. Or the lack of it in something.
Yeah, you're right. Or the lack of it. Not all families, again, are healthy, and we have to face the reality that some families maybe didn't do a good job of exhibiting what love is or what safety is. And so that is important to say because families can be a source of strength or they can be a source of wounds, deep wounds.
Either way, it sticks with you from the journey of being in a family. It sticks with you when you grow up, or
it really does. It really does stick with you. And Scripture does not hide families' imperfections. And even Psalm 27:10, paraphrasing it says, "If my father and mother abandon me, the Lord will bring me close. The Lord will hold me close." And so, we know that there are times where family just isn't what it should be, and that is a source of hurt, and it is a reality for many people. But what we do need to understand is that even when family fails us, God never fails, and God is there even when our family isn't. But we're going to try to focus mostly on the positive today. We'll talk a little bit about the negative. But family is where values are formed. Family teaches us what's normal.
even when it shouldn't be normal, or when it's
What were you going to say? I don't want to cut you off. I think you were going to say something good.
I don't know.
No.
When you continue.
Yeah. Okay. I think there are some behaviors in families that people think are normal. They think that those behaviors are normal in every family, and they're not. There's things that we learn that because it is normal for us, we assume that it's normal for everybody, and it's not always that way. And so we might see some of that in our lives. We might experience some of that in our families. But as we expose ourselves to other people, we begin to find out that there's a whole other world out there, and there is a whole other sense of what normal is. And sometimes it's enlightening, sometimes it's frightening. But we learn that every family has their own definition of normal.
Okay.
But conflict, how emotions are processed, how love is shown or withheld, these are all things that we learn from our family. How to resolve conflict, how to express our emotions, and how to demonstrate love.
Yeah, it's like, kids notice everything, and people need to realize that. We think that when they're 1 or 2, they don't know, they won't remember what you did back then or whatever. But as we see, kids that are 2 to 3 are seeing people in the church, and if they see how they worship, they start copying it. They learn, they listen and watch.
Absolutely,
And
absolutely.
people think they don't,
Yeah.
but they really do.
You know, my youngest memory is 2 years old. I have a memory of being 2 years old. And I described this scene perfectly to my mom, and she was like, "You were 2. How do you remember that?" I do. I remember it specifically. Um, Now, your mom doesn't remember anything before kindergarten. So,
I only remember, and and you always tell me that you're always surprised. The only thing that I can remember was when we had a green car in Kendallville back
yeah,
then.
which
And
you were really young.
I don't know how old I was, but I remember physically seeing it. It was almost like the Ford Focus car. It was
Mm-hmm.
not a big car. It was like a SUV, you would call it,
Mm-hmm.
like my Subaru too. But
yeah,
that's my last that I know of.
right,
of the
right.
youngest
But
time.
we had that car when you were young, so yeah. But kids do notice everything. You know, Hendrix, my grandson, is 2 years old, and he's at a stage now where if him and I are playing a game, and my wife, who he calls Oma, is not involved, if him and I are playing peekaboo, or if he's hiding, and I'm the only one engaged, he'll stop and say, "Oma, Oma," because he notices that she's not engaged, that she's not paying attention to him, and he wants everybody in the room to be paying attention to him. And then vice versa. If him and Oma are playing and I'm not involved, he'll yell out, "Opa, Opa." You know, so he's picking up social cues. He's picking up things that people just don't realize. And kids, long before they understand words, before they know how to read, they understand the tone of your voice, behavior, and your consistency.
Mm-hmm.
Your consistency. You know, we go see Hendrix every week, and so if Audrey says, "Oma and Opa are coming," you know, Hendrix will run to the door and wait for us because he knows we're gonna walk through that door. And it's consistency, it's showing up. And so in families, we do need to model consistency. And that's a big thing in everybody's life. You know, we can exercise for 30 days and then we miss 2 weeks and we never get back to it. You know, reading, praying, exercising, money management. I think consistency is a big thing in most people's life. It is in mine. It was not modeled for me growing up. And so consistency can be something, self-discipline can be something that I struggle with, but it needs to be something that we work on and that we're aware of. In Deuteronomy chapter 6, when Moses is talking to the children of Israel, he talks about them training their families consistently. He said, when you get up in the morning, when you go to bed at night, when you're walking down the road, when you're sitting at your table, tell them the things of God. Talk to them about the things of God. And I've tried to model that for you guys. Every time I see you, I give you a hug and I tell you I love you. I try not to let you leave without saying I love you and giving you a hug. And it's become habit. It's become something that you expect and you wait on. If I'm tied up, you'll wait for me, right? But I do that with Audrey and Devin when they're at the house before they're getting ready to leave. It's not something that I try to just randomly do. I try to be consistent. That if you're in my house, if you're in my presence, when you leave, you're going to leave with a hug and you're going to leave with, "I love you," or "I'm going to pray over you," or, you know, something like that. Because I do want to be consistent. And consistency is not the same thing as perfection.
It's not.
There are no perfect families. I cannot say that enough. There are no perfect families.
Yep. It's like everyone has issues. Every family has issues. I've heard a lot of people say stuff in their families like drama or this happened, and they don't want to talk to them or they don't want to see them. But every family has issues. Maybe some of them are bad that you don't really want to be involved in. It drove you away from them. And others just maybe drama or, but it's not always nothing bad unless it is like a very, very bad thing. Then yeah.
Right. So I think every family has that crazy aunt or uncle. Everybody has that situation that they don't want to talk about, and so yeah, I think every family has an element of drama built in, and every family has issues. Someone asked me a few weeks ago. They said, "How do you put the fun back in dysfunctional families?" Because fun is in the middle of the word dysfunction, right?
Oh, yeah.
And they said, "How do you put the fun back in the middle of dysfunctional families?" And I said, "Hide everybody's medication."
Then you'll see some fun.
Right,
Yeah.
right. But here's the thing: we all have issues, and the Bible doesn't hide that. And that's one thing that I've been grateful for in the Word of God, is that God never hid humanity's imperfections. Throughout Genesis, we see dysfunction in almost every single family, even those that feared God. We see dysfunction throughout the Genesis families.
Right.
We see dysfunction in King David's household. And God said David was a man after his own heart, but we see dysfunction even in David's household. And on and on. And we could get into different specifics, but we won't. But the Bible does not hide the fact that people, me, you, people make mistakes. They have issues. There's tension. There's moments that we all wish we could go back and redo.
Yeah. And social media hides that. People post like they're happy and having a great time, but then you don't know the behind of it. You don't know if they're struggling as a family or if there's drama going. You don't know it because social media hides it. They may post something happy and pictures of them being happy of having fun, but then later on they all may fight and you don't know that because they hide it.
Yeah, we all present our Hallmark moments, right? And I think that there's an element of that is to be respected. Don't post your family drama all over Facebook. If you're arguing, if you're upset, you don't need to post that on Facebook. So while we say people only post the best, I also think that there's some wisdom in that. I tell husbands and wives when I'm doing counseling, don't be a Benedict Arnold. Don't announce your problems all over Facebook. And so I do think that our problems deserve some privacy. I don't think we need to post our drama all over Facebook, because you're hopefully going to work it out. And after you've worked it out, the audience of the whole world that watched you, they want more, because people thrive on drama. People thrive on the mess of life. And, I've seen people joke about, if you post your business on Facebook, I'm going to sit there and take a side and I want to know what happened in the first scene and I want to know what I missed. And, so while social media hides our problems because we're not posting our problems, I also just want to say thank you because I don't want to see all your drama.
No one wants to. And if people do, then maybe you go ask them instead. Don't just post it, because not all people want drama.
Right.
All you see now is just drama, and maybe it's not family, it's just other stuff.
Yeah. But that also, though, creates this false reality that we think everybody is happy all the time, that everybody's smiling, everybody's getting along, and it can create this false reality that really we can never live up to. And so then that leads to disappointment. And, social media focuses on highlights. It doesn't show the hard work of apologies and hard conversations and forgiveness and healing. And so, while there are no perfect families and there are issues, there's one thing that families really, really need, and that is presence. And I'm not talking about presents.
The stuff that you get from Christmas or birthdays, but
Right, as in gifts.
Presence, like you need to be there as a family, be there as a one. If someone needs you, you need to
Yes.
be there to help them, strengthen them up.
And not just be in the room, but be present. Put your phone down.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to each other, look at each other, have a conversation, be present in the room.
Yeah.
Pay attention to the people around you, listen to what they're saying. You know, if we can't do without our phones for an hour, we have a problem,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so being present, and I will just say this, every married couple that I've either done their premarital counseling before I do their wedding ceremony, or I've done marital counseling afterwards. In the last 4 years, every couple that I've counseled has had a common thread, and that is that the phone is causing problems in the marriage.
Mm-hmm.
That people are spending too much time on their phones. They're disconnected from the person right next to them because they're engaged in the Monopoly Go. They're looking at Instagram Reels. They're looking at Facebook. They're scrolling. They're texting. Somehow, some way, they're paying more attention to the screen in front of them than the person beside them or across from them. And so it is an epidemic that is going on in marriages and families. People are disconnected because of these devices.
Yeah. And it's weird to say this, and this could be like a whole topic of series, but I'm not going to go straight into it. But I'm going to say this. I feel like ever since TikTok came out, everyone wants these reels because Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, they never had these reel type shorts until TikTok came out. And then now they see that everyone wants that instead of long video. So it kind of ties into more attention because it's short videos.
Right.
And you can always.
Well, and there are studies showing that the average person's attention span has greatly diminished.
Oh, yeah.
Because of reels and highlight videos and TikToks and things like that. So even a podcast like ours, we're running 30 to 40 minutes and sometimes longer.
Yeah.
Because you talk too much.
Oh, that is not me. That is you.
But even podcasts like ours, we have to face the reality that maybe not everybody's listening all the way through.
Yeah, no.
Because attention spans. As a preacher, we have to understand that, we're competing against 90-second reels. We're competing against these short videos.
Yeah.
And so people's ability to pay attention has been greatly diminished. But we need presence. We need to be alert and oriented to the people and the atmosphere around us. And we need to be involved in the room that we are in. It's not about perfection, but it's about being present.
It's about just showing up. Put your phone down for an hour or two or a day and not be on reels. Don't be on Facebook. Don't be on social media. Don't watch a movie. Just sit down, play games with your family or kids. Focus with them instead of on your phone.
Yeah, what would happen if families would dedicate 2 hours every night to no phones, no electronics, or one whole day a week? Every Thursday, no phones. I mean, I don't know, but what would happen if we made a constant effort to unplug consistently?
Oh, yeah.
To be engaged consistently with the people that are in the room. Because when you're connected to a phone, when you're connected to a screen of any kind, communication falls by the wayside. And communication is another thing that families need. We need presence, but we also need communication. Healthy families communicate.
Yeah, they listen, because if you're failing or you're falling and you're having trouble with a addiction or something and you just need help and guidance, that's what a family is for. Maybe you don't want to talk to your mom and your dad, or maybe your siblings, but you can talk to your grandma, your grandpa,
right,
or your uncle or your aunt or your cousin, because they may be able to help you, because they have been through a lot more than you have.
Right. Yeah. You know, and again, that falls into the name of our podcast, Legacy Talks. You talked about grandparents. You know, there's a generation that has experienced even more than like what I have. Your grandparents have experienced more than I have, and so there's wisdom that they can give that I can't give, and so that's where legacy comes in, the ongoing departing of wisdom or imparting of wisdom to others. But you mentioned listening, and that is part of communication that is often overlooked. People love to talk. I was watching a reel of a very well-known American pastor that I grew up listening to. But somebody asked him, he's 90 years old now. And so as an old man, he is speaking and he's releasing wisdom and people are gleaning from him. But they asked him if he could write a letter to his younger self, what would he say? And he said, I would tell myself not to talk so much. He said, because I'm not learning when I'm talking. I need to listen more. And so it's interesting that when we segued into communication, you said listening, because we always think that communication is talking, but communication is also hearing, listening. And when people feel heard, they feel valued.
They do. And you see that because if you give people attention, they're like, oh, you're actually listening. I can tell you my problems. Because if you don't listen, you don't care. That's what they see. If you are not listening, they know that you do not care. You're not engaged. So if you listen to them, it builds them up knowing, oh, hey, this person cares about me and about my problem. They know what they can do.
And when there's a lack of communication, things build up. And unspoken feelings, they don't disappear. They just hide dormant and then they surface later.
Oh, yeah.
And so it's important that we do learn to have healthy communication. And it's not always comfortable. Sometimes you're going to talk about things that are raw and vulnerable, and they can, if you're not careful, hurt feelings. And sometimes, no matter how careful you are, feelings are going to get hurt. But if we understand that we're trying to reach a healing, we're trying to reach a place of improvement, then it can help us to have grace in those conversations. And so communication is vital, but that also creates conflict. And I think we need to understand that conflict in families is normal.
Yeah.
I get worried, and maybe we talked about this last week, but I get worried when people say, oh, we never fight.
Yeah.
We never have arguments. Well, then you're just not communicating.
Yeah, no. And the other thing is, as a family, the mom and dad may fight, but you have to realize the kids fight.
Right.
If they are fighting, you need to understand it's because something happened. You know, maybe someone got their toy and they just were like, they got all out and they're like, that's my toy. And so,
right.
You know,
well, you know, conflict happens when lines are crossed.
Yeah.
Conflict happens when boundaries are trespassed. And we're going to talk about boundaries in a minute, but avoiding conflict does not help. We have to address issues with honesty and with respect. And we have to remember that when we are having conversations about conflict, it's not about winning the argument.
No.
It's about winning the relationship with that person, keeping the relationship with that person, protecting the relationship with that person. And so we've got to have those conversations, and it's not about who's right and who's wrong, but it's about honesty and respect.
Yep. It repairs more than being right. Like it repairs the conflict that you just had. It kind of repairs yourself, being like, okay.
The goal is repair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're trying to repair what you fought about.
Right. You're trying to repair any discrepancies, any hard feelings, because you want to maintain that relationship. So we mentioned boundaries a minute ago, and so I think we need to talk about boundaries for a minute, because not everyone deserves unlimited access to us.
Nope.
So we need to talk about boundaries.
Mm-hmm. And boundaries is like maybe when I go to this room and I am in here, I don't want anyone in here because it relieves some boundaries. Like you want some privacy,
You need to decompress.
Yes.
Maybe, yeah.
Maybe maybe play games, and maybe that's your decompression. You're playing games, or just sitting there listening to music or reading, and that's your boundary. Like I need to have privacy for a little bit.
Yeah, and that is an example of a boundary, and that's something that's got to be communicated. Boundaries are pointless unless they're communicated.
Oh yeah.
Sometimes we get frustrated because we have needs and we have boundaries, but we've never communicated them. So if you need that alone time to decompress, but you never express that to anybody, if you never say, I'm going in my game room to play games for 40 minutes. I need to unwind. I'm stressed. I just need to be alone. And if people won't leave you alone while you're in there, but you never communicated that boundary, never expressed that need, they don't know that they're crossing a boundary. So boundaries are important. And I want to discuss some things specifically about boundaries because it's hard to hear when people are trying to express boundaries. Again, back to the whole social media thing, we live in an age where nothing is private anymore. People post everything.
Yeah.
They talk about everything. They seek opinions from everyone. And so it seems like boundaries are almost non-existent. So when someone starts to communicate that they need a boundary, they're trying to lay out a boundary, many times people get offended over that.
Oh yeah.
And they want to push the lines. So it's hard for people to hear about boundaries, especially when it comes to family. But the Bible does talk about boundaries more than we realize. And just for a quick example, Proverbs 4:23 says that we need to guard our heart because out of it flows the issues of life. And so we do have to put some boundaries up to protect us. And what we need to understand is that boundaries are not meant to be punishment.
No.
Boundaries are not meant to be retaliation or revenge.
They're meant to be protection.
Yes.
From like maybe you're protecting your loved ones, saying, "Hey, if I don't get into this boundary, I may just explode." It's like one of those things where if you had a bad day and you're getting stressed out and you need to go relax, that's your boundary. And you're trying to protect the loved ones. You don't want to explode on them, but if they get too close or pushing your buttons more, you're like, I need to go get into my boundary first.
Right. And but I'm gonna you keep bringing that up, so I'm gonna touch on that. If that is one of the issues that somebody is struggling with, like they always want to be alone or they feel like they're going to blow up, then that could be the sign that you're also not communicating needs. Because if we always feel like we're ready to explode, what are we bottling up? What are we holding in? And that's where maybe some journaling might help. Talk about your day, write it down, get it out, because we should not always feel like we're ready to explode, right? That should not be our normal setting is 3 seconds from explosion. But boundaries are important. They're protection, and they should not be used to get back at someone. I've seen people say, well, I'm mad at you, so you can't. I've seen children do this to their parents regarding grandchildren. They'll say, well, I'm mad at you, mom and dad, so you don't get to see the kids this week. That's not what a boundary is. No. That's revenge. That's punishment. That's retaliation. Boundaries are set up to protect both people involved. Boundaries are set up to protect your mental health, your emotional well-being, but also the other person as well.
Yeah.
Boundaries don't mean that you don't love someone. They mean that you're choosing health. You're choosing your health and their health.
Yeah. And it's basically like you're just trying to keep them from that boundary of that person, kind of, But like you said, you're not trying to keep them away from them, but it's like you're just trying to keep them away from experiencing what they are doing to you when you were a kid or something.
Yeah.
Because there's some where you could say that.
Yeah, but like for example, I have a person in my life that um, I have to have some strong boundaries with because they have no emotional regulation. If they're up, they're up. If they're down, they're down. If they're, whatever they're thinking, they're saying, whatever they're feeling, they're spewing out. And they have no respect of personal space. This person, I used to be connected to them on social media, and I could make just a general post about something. And if they were triggered that day, they would get on and just argue with me on my social media post. And I wasn't even speaking to them. I wasn't even referring to them. It was just a general post. I'm a pastor, so a lot of times I make posts about church, just in general. And so this person would get on and argue, and I would delete their comments, and I would talk to them privately, but they kept, coming back and kept getting on my stuff. So finally, I just blocked them. And I told them personally, I said, in order for us to have any kind of friendship or relationship, you cannot be connected to me on social media because you don't understand boundaries. And so I am not cutting you out of my life, but I'm putting a boundary up that says, in order for us to be a part of each other's life, you can't be my social media friend because you don't understand social media etiquette. Let me just tell you, there's a lot of posts on social media that I don't agree with, but I don't go on other people's posts and stir up strife and say things. And so they didn't understand that. And so sometimes love is limiting access. If I allowed that person to continue to have full access to me on social media, I would end up cutting them out of my life altogether, because sometimes you got to draw a line that holds them at bay in certain areas, because access without accountability causes harm. We all have to understand, if we're granted access to somebody's life, then we have responsibility for how we affect their life. And some people want access without responsibility, and that's where they begin to hurt people. And so unlimited access can be harmful. And here's the truth that we need to understand. Not everyone is safe.
No.
Not everyone is safe, even family. There are family members that we love, but they're just not safe. They're not emotionally safe. They're not mentally safe. And some people operate in manipulation, and they bring chaos, and they bring emotional harm into every space that they enter. And so while you may not be able to cut them completely out of your life, you have to limit access. Because not everyone deserves unlimited access. Right? And when someone has proven over and over and over that they are not emotionally safe, then you have the right and even the responsibility to put boundaries up. And this is something that is fresh for me. I encountered a situation a few weeks ago where a person, people actually, that I've given multiple chances to, that I have forgiven many times and welcomed them back into my space, they proved that they cannot be trusted, and that they're going to waste every opportunity I give them to be in my life. And so I finally had to reach out to them and say, I want no more communication with you, because I will not traffic in shame and manipulation. I will not give you a space in my head or in my heart that would cause me to become bitter. The Bible says, guard your heart. And I've given you opportunity after opportunity after opportunity to learn boundaries, control your words, and you're not doing it. And so from here on out, I want no communication with you. I'm not angry with them, but every time I've let my guard down, it ends up causing hurt. And so that's where we have to have enough self-respect to say, I love you, but you are not going to hurt me.
Nope.
I love you, but I am not going to let you harm me. And it's important that we do that, even with families, because then if I let somebody walk all over me, if I, especially when you were younger, maybe, might be too late now, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
But if you see someone continually walking all over me and me never standing up for myself, then you're going to think that that's healthy and that's normal, and you're going to let people walk all over you. But if you see me operate in love, now I don't name the person. I'm not, I'm being very non-specific.
Yeah.
You don't know if it's a man or a woman. You don't know if it's family or friend. You don't know any of those things. You're my son, and you don't even know what I'm talking about. I don't talk about the person. I don't talk about the situation. I don't spread it around. But I have removed people from my life. I've greatly limited their access, and I've put up boundaries, right? So if you see me do those things, one thing, you're going to see me not talk about the person.
Yeah.
You're going to see me not say insulting things, spread lies, or tell everybody about it. But what you can see me do is you can see me say, no more.
Yep.
We're not going to tolerate this anymore. And then that empowers you to do the same when you need to do it. And so, because while Jesus told us to love our enemies and turn the other cheek, he never told us to be a doormat.
Nope.
He never told us to allow family and friends and people to continually abuse us, right? There are many scriptures where the Bible talks about mark them that cause division and avoid them, and that we need to know who the troublemakers are, and we need to do those things. Sometimes people, especially the manipulators, they will say, well, what about turning the other cheek? What about grace? What about... No, let's not twist scripture.
Yeah, let's not. That's
right.
not what scripture
And
is.
so boundaries are essential to our emotional health. And love is not enabling them.
No.
If I continue, I've given them chance after chance after chance. If I continue to allow them to do that to me, then I am enabling them. And that's not helping them, because they're going to think that what they're doing to me is okay. And if doing it to me is okay, how many other people are they doing it to?
I know, right?
So putting that boundary up causes them to say, maybe, just maybe, it'll cause them to pause long enough and say, maybe my behavior isn't appropriate. And maybe because they do traffic in shame and guilt and they're a manipulator, maybe nobody's ever confronted them before. But maybe my gentle confrontation, maybe my firm establishment of boundaries can cause them to at least pause long enough to say, maybe my behavior isn't acceptable. One can only hope, right?
Yeah.
But love does not mean tolerating repeated harm.
It means being honest to your loved ones.
Yeah.
And you have to be honest with what you're going to say. Don't just sugarcoat it. You have to love them, because a lot of people want to for example, people can ask, well, do I look fat, or am I losing weight? Don't sugarcoat it. Say, oh, no, you look fine, and be honest. If they're asking
Let
about...
me just say this.
Yeah.
If your wife asks you if she's getting fat, never say yes.
Never, don't, now, especially that, now, if it's your wife, do not say yes. Just don't say
Never say yes.
No, just sugarcoat it. And
just say, my, what a beautiful day it is.
yeah. But if it's not your wife, and maybe your friends or family.
Don't ever tell anybody they're getting fat. They know they're getting fat.
No.
They know.
But if they...
Bad example, Bradley. Bad example.
I'm just saying, for an example, just other things.
I know.
Okay.
I know. I'm just picking on you.
But if they ask you and that person said, oh yeah, I'm going to go to the gym, do this and that, and they ask you, hey, have I lost weight? but you've seen them at Joe DeRosa's or maybe Krispy Kreme or a place that's not healthy.
For those that are outside of town, Joe DeRosa's is a local donut shop here in town.
But let's just say you see them at the donut shop or wherever that's unhealthy, and they ask you, "Oh, do you think I'm losing weight?" Don't sugarcoat and say, "Well, yeah, no, you're definitely losing."
Right.
But you have to be honest.
So with boundaries, you know, with these persons that I was just referring to, I didn't just check out. I let them know. First of all, this immediate conversation is over.
Yeah.
I've talked. I've tried to silence the conversation. I tried to end the conversation before it blew up. You kept it going. So I said, we've got to stop. Communication is done.
Yeah.
I didn't just disappear. I let them know. This is what I was talking about. This is why I said the conversation needed to end. And because you continually don't respect boundaries, I'm out. I'm done.
Yep.
Right? So I didn't just check out without communicating. I communicated and then I was out. So be honest.
Yep.
Say the situation, confront the situation, but then you can step back and you can create that boundary. And what you don't want to do is just withdraw without communication. That's not setting a boundary. That's withdrawal, and that's not healthy either.
No.
So you need to confront the situation. And then if you need to establish that boundary, establish the boundary, but communicate first and then give that required distance that might be needed.
Yeah.
So healthy boundaries sound like this. I love you, but I won't allow you to disrespect me. I care about you, but I won't participate in chaos. I'm available when communication is healthy.
Oh, yeah.
Those are all things that we can say when we're trying to establish boundaries.
And it's not rejection. And people may say, well, that's rejection, but it's not. It's, you, like you said, you're setting up healthy boundaries.
Right, it's clarity.
You're trying to clarify and say, hey, I will talk to you. I'll communicate to you. I will be in your presence when you're not doing these things. Like you said, the chaos or the unhealthy stuff that they do, you don't want to be part of it. You're trying to keep yourself safe from that.
Right, absolutely. And people struggle with that because then they feel guilty. Many times people feel guilty when they're trying to establish healthy boundaries for themselves. And that's where we need to understand that we have the right to emotional health. We have the right to emotional well-being and safety. And so establishing boundaries, if it makes us feel guilty, we need to reframe that thought and just say, I deserve to be protected. I deserve to be safe. And so this is not a guilty thing. It might be uncomfortable and it might hurt, but I don't need to feel guilty over establishing a healthy boundary.
It's especially with family.
Especially hard with family, yes.
Because you don't want to disconnect them, but if they leave you no choice, you kind of have to do that. And you may feel guilty for a little bit, but it's almost like when people feel guilty, you see it all the time. They feel guilty and they're like, well, I'll still talk to them. They'll go back to the same old. And then the person does the same thing. They're like, well, I don't want to talk to you anymore. Then you go back again because you feel guilty.
And I gave into that for many years because you feel guilty.
You do. And I mean, like, I have a friend. I'm not going to say his name. I'm not going to say anything. But he has this situation with his family, and his family is one of those where he's tried his hardest to give them chances, but they don't show him any chances, and he's trying to keep himself right and keep himself away from the hurtingness because a lot of them have shown the hurt towards him. And it's like, at that point, yes, I get it. You need to maybe leave, maybe get yourself away, and that might be your boundaries, maybe moving out, moving away from this chaos.
Yeah, and it does hurt because it's not that you don't love your family.
No, it's not. You're trying to keep yourself safe from them.
Right,
until they realize what they lose.
And that's why boundaries are never easy, because essentially most of the time you're putting distance between you and someone you love. But just because you love them doesn't mean they're safe, doesn't mean that you should have a lot of access around them. There are some people that if I'm around them for more than an hour or two, I just am emotionally drained.
Yes.
And it just drags me down. And I love them, so I can't avoid them.
Yeah.
But small doses, and I have to be aware of my well-being going into the situation and coming out of the situation.
Oh, yeah.
And so again, that's where some good healthy coping mechanisms, journaling, listening to worship music, having somebody you can talk to, those things are important. But sometimes boundaries require distance.
Mm-hmm.
And
it's almost like what I said, distance from.
Yeah, and it may not be a forever thing.
Yeah, it's never like a forever thing. It's more like just until you realize what you need to do and what that person needs to do to get back to where you guys were before.
Yeah, distance can create that time for healing. Just like when you break a bone, you got to put a cast on it so that the bone is protected and it can heal. It can fuse back together. And so, but you can love someone without being close to them, and love does not require constant access. So we've spent a lot of time talking about boundaries, probably more than what we wanted to spend, but it is important. And I think that that's something that a lot of people struggle with in families. And I think it is important to understand that while, yes, we need to be present and we need to communicate and that conflict is normal, I think it's also important for us to understand that boundaries are an essential part of healthy families and healthy relationships.
Oh, yes.
And we have to learn. Dr. Henry Cloud has a great book on boundaries. You can read that. If you are watching and you're still watching and you're hearing this, if you have questions about boundaries, feel free to message me on Facebook or text me if you have my number. But boundaries are something that take work, they take effort, they take a lot of practice and a lot of discipline. But we do need boundaries. We need to model them for the sake of our children. I referred to that earlier. If you see me respecting myself and setting up boundaries, then it gives you permission to set up boundaries for yourself. And I just do want to qualify or clarify that we need to also give grace. The first time that somebody hurts my feelings or disrespects me, I'm probably not going to establish a firm boundary that says, I'm not talking to you, you can't text me, I'm unfriending you. Boundaries also can look like us sitting down and having a conversation and saying, what you just said to me was inappropriate. The tone of voice that you used, or the way that you approached me, or however you just behaved, that's not appropriate. And I just want to let you know, I cannot be okay with that. And so I would just ask you not to behave that way or speak to me that way in the future. That is a boundary. You're not removing yourself. You're not, disassociating with them. You just created an expectation that said, when you're with me, this behavior is not appropriate. With me, you can't talk to me that way. So you created maybe an informative or an educational boundary, but you still are involved with that person, right? Now, if they continue to break that, then maybe you impose more boundaries. But we got to exercise some grace and patience and wisdom. So we're not just removing ourselves from everybody the first time they're rude or inconsiderate, because everybody has a bad day.
Yeah, everyone does.
Right? So we do also, on the flip side, I don't want somebody watching and saying, oh, they were rude to me, I'm cutting them out. Oh, they were rude to me, I'm blocking them. Oh, they were rude, I'm never talking to them. That's not what we're talking about.
We're not
here.
talking about that. We're talking about just distancing, not stop talking to people. Just distance yourself and say something to them, hey, that was kind of rude. I'm going to distance myself a little bit and just let them sink that in and realize, oh, wait, that was kind of rude. Let me get that fixed. Let me get my perspective and my tone fixed. Basically.
I think many times what happens is kind of what you were talking about earlier, where, we don't communicate, we don't express our needs, we don't draw lines, we don't hold people accountable. And so things just build up and build up and build up and build up. and then finally we explode. And when we explode, that's when we say, I never want to see you again, you know. And then we're not creating a boundary, we're attacking, we're causing harm. And so that's why communicating and having that respectful communication is very, very important. But families don't need perfection.
They need consistency.
They need consistency, yeah, absolutely. And they need grace,
Patient.
and healthy boundaries.
Yes.
This all takes time, it takes effort. And again, there's just no perfect family. I'm not the perfect husband or the perfect father. I'm not the perfect son. None of us are perfect. And if we can own that, that also helps us in how we're dealing with people. If I can remember that I'm not the perfect son or the perfect father, then I'm not going to expect you to be the perfect son, right? And so remembering who we are, remembering our own flaws can help us be more merciful with other people.
Yeah.
So we need those things. And if I always try to have a moment where I speak directly to you, because you're my son and this is Legacy Talks. But if I could say something just to you as my son, I've got life insurance policies that when I die in 50 years,
or maybe never,
that I want to have an inheritance that I can pass on to you and your sister and to my grandchildren. But the greatest legacy, this is Legacy Talks, right? The greatest legacy that I can pass on is not money. The greatest legacy that I can pass on is that hopefully I made you feel loved and valued and respected. And hopefully, even though I didn't and can't model perfection, that I have modeled being present and being consistent. And hopefully I've been a safe person in your life. And that when you think of me, you have happy memories. And so what we leave, the greatest thing that we leave is that when you think of me, you think, Dad loved me. And that's what we want to pass on to our children. That's what we want our family to remember. That's what we want our friends to remember.
Yeah.
That we made them feel loved.
Yeah.
Because that's what family is all about. That safe place, that place of love, place of acceptance, place of normalcy, place where you belong. That's what family is. Family is something you belong to. Family is a place where you can let your crazy out and it's okay. As long as you aren't harmful to anybody else. But I want to make sure that people felt loved in my presence.
And as we close, we need to take some of the stuff that people have heard and tell them what families need. Like if there's any families that is listening to this, if you're of like the whole family or just a husband or the wife or maybe a kid, this is how you want to try to strengthen your family is to be patient,
be present,
communicate honestly,
set healthy boundaries,
and stay consistent with what's going on around you and to listen to whoever needs help in your family.
Yeah, be present and turn off your phones. Turn off your iPads. That alone is going to help tremendously. But family isn't perfect.
But it matters.
It's important. It's a treasure. God created the family before he created the church.
And the church is also a family too.
Absolutely. The church is a family. And I thank God for the church. But love builds families.
It does.
Boundaries protect families.
And it doesn't just protect us, but it keeps us safe from in the future when we grow out and get out of the house.
Yeah, it gives you
So-
some good skills when you get out. So love protects families, boundaries, or love builds families, boundaries protect families, but families build communities and churches. Family is vital to the health of the community, and family is vital to the health of the church. And the devil attacks families because families are important. And so hopefully this talk today has brought some things out that we're not talking about cutting family members off and disassociating from family and never speaking to them again, but we are talking about real families with real issues, and that at the end of the day, if you have to have a boundary, don't feel guilty about that boundary.
Nope.
If you have to limit access to people, limit the access so that you can keep your heart right. And I would encourage you that as you draw those boundaries, make sure you do examine your heart. Make sure you ask the Lord, is there any animosity in my heart? Is there any bitterness in my heart? Am I doing this out of anger, or am I doing this out of love? And ask the Lord to create in you a clean and holy heart. The family is important. The family matters. And I thank God for mine. Thank God for you.
And we'll see you in the next episode.
Thanks for joining us.
Bye.